live from iRacing's Texas Motor Speedway. It's going to be chaos among these iRacing Indy cars. We are on the high banks. We are running the oval in the ABN Champ Car World Series. I'm Rick James, Liv Hayward by my side. 125 laps on offer tonight, and the drivers just finishing up practice. Liv, last week at Barber was barbs being thrown back and forth from Tucker Sawyer to Nick Pressey, Eli Sasek, all over the field. Tight battles on a long, stretched out road course. Now, we have 16 cars that are going to be battling with each other in the same pack for 125 laps.
Yeah, and this is going to be an evening to nighttime race, which means that at a track like Texas, it is going to be high speed and, in a lot of cases, full throttle. You can really carry the speed through turns 3 and 4 with the 24 degrees of banking. And then everyone fans out through the 1 and 2, which was widened in the last decade, but also flattened out slightly. It's a nice asymmetric challenge that I think is going to trip out quite a few of our drivers.
Only the 4th visit to Texas Motor Speedway in the ABN Champ Car World Series. Expect 18 or more lead changes in this race, and it's going to be a wreck fest, if you want to call it that, Liv. 8 cautions is the average number of cautions in this 187-mile race.
I do think Season 4 is bumping those numbers up a little bit. I got to obviously see that one firsthand, and it was a tricky one, let's say. Of course, last season's event notable for the final lap incident between Edson Santos and Hamilton Akeboyesi that ended up giving Austin Farr the win post-race. But this is going to be one where it'll be what the drivers make of it. It's going to be heavy on the pit stops here, a very limited tank for our oval events compared to normal. Just a 10-gallon fuel tank, so expecting 4 pit stops, around 30 laps per stint. And maybe that will fan these drivers out and give them a little bit more breathing room around the high banks of Texas.
Practice just about to come to an end, Liv. I think we're inside the final 90 seconds of the practice session now. And at the top of the tree, it's Nick Pressey. George Ward in second. Carmen Sienna runs in the 3rd position this week. Under the lights in a lime green Patron livery. George Ward in a more festive livery befitting his nickname Big Pink. Nick Pressey in the same old drip, diecast, and collectibles scheme. And for the most part, drivers have had their fill of practice. Mitch Samedo, Christina Ryan, and George Ward all running more than 36 laps tonight.
Yeah, Tucker Sawyer, of course, 2 wins on the road courses, puts him top of the standings, but hasn't quite had the same success on ovals just yet. Edson Santos, of course, one of the strongest drivers in our field in terms of oval superiority, so expecting good things from the number 20 again. But it is a very close battle up at the top between the NPM and the Ascent Racing drivers. And these races are more important than ever with the number of contenders at the sharp end of those fields.
So we have a 5-minute qualifying session coming up, a 5-minute warm-up after that as well, just to get drivers ready for competition. 16 drivers registered in tonight's list, and qualifying-wise, Liv, you say Edson Santos is going to be one of our stronger competitors tonight. Really, how many runs are you going to get in 5 minutes? Is it just 2 laps on this qualifying run?
So the drivers have permitted 4 laps, and it's the fastest lap that they achieve in those. There is a slight change to the way that the rules are applied as of this week. Because we've shortened up the session, drivers are outright banned from warming up their engine down on pit lane. They have to come straight out of pit lane onto the racetrack, and then from that point, iRacing's qualifying scrutiny takes charge of proceedings. So you can still definitely work your run plan to get the tires and maybe even the engine into a good window, but you have to do it within the confines of what iRacing deems appropriate out on the racetrack. That means you've got to keep rolling at least 100 miles an hour typically, and you can't do any funny shenanigans with rolling, sort of spinning up the rear tires, for example. That's banned.
Looking at, sorry to interrupt, looking at Nick Pressey, as Carmen Siena's on our screen right now, and you're seeing the first times just come in, and again, it's going to be the fastest of 4 laps. Right now, Christina Ryan at the top of her respective tree. If you're expecting to see Nick Pressey fly to the top, he has destroyed the 94, so he's going to take another attempt here. Nick Pressey. Now, where did he come through? I don't think he's completed one lap yet, but we're going to get a time from him.
Yeah, this is the first lap, so he got caused some damage on his out lap, it seems like, and went to a backup car, which is allowed in oval qualifying. You're allowed to reset as often as you like. Again, Christina Ryan currently top of the tree. We will see what Nicholas Pressey can do. As actually Bryce Saucer goes to pole. Does Nicholas Pressey have the same strategies? And it looks like not quite. He'll go to 5th, but he does have laps to work with Edson Santos. Slow lap 1. I'm thinking that was a build lap. He wanted to get the tyres into a window. Again, slow can help that out a bit. We'll see what lap 2 is. 2:17.56. I believe that will put him top of the tree, but only by 2/1000ths of a second. In case you were curious, that is a 24.163 in seconds. So Edson Santos with a great response to Bryce Saucer there, but there's still a chance for some of these drivers to take another swing back. And Nicholas Pressey, who's out for his second run and has 2 more laps to work with here, I think could be the one to watch to try and take some of his teammates' strategies and go for a top 5 time.
1st through 12th are separated by 1/4 of a second.
Not even that. It's about 1/10 and a half. It's very tight competition here. Pressey sets a 24/7 on that build lap. We'll see what lap 4 proves for him and whether he can find anything to answer Santos and Sosa, as well as Lilac Zir, who is making, I believe, her first start of the season. Of course, our reigning champion from season 5, or season 6, I should say. But it's up to take time, and Nicholas Pressey has improved there. Has jumped Santos by just 0.07 of a second. Bryce Sosa is out on the race, but hasn't found an improvement. And I don't think Edson Santos has time to come out to try and match that. I think the 94 might be your pole sitter for tonight.
24:16 on the clock, 1/100th of a second quicker than Edson Santos. Santos and Bryce Saucer tied down to the 100th. Dakota Pierce coming out of the 4th corner, now completing his first lap. Or no, this will be his hot lap. This will be his opening lap of competition. Interesting we have...
That was, I believe, a slow build lap. The 1:21, I'm not sure is an accurate time, but this will be his only attempt. We only have 23 seconds left on the clock. This is the last time that will come in this qualifying session. Pelletier Sharp will opt to start from the rear here. Dakota Pierce in the 38 does set a 25.1, but it won't actually be enough to step up the field. This will be I'm not sure how lap time came through. That might be an invalid lap that will put Dakota to the back of the field. But most importantly, Nicholas Pressey surprisingly managed to take down the Brazilian of Edson Santos to take that pole position.
Lights flick on around Texas Motor Speedway, and now the cars will start to reflect a bit more shine and some more sparks around the racetrack. 5-minute warm-up coming up. Drivers are going to take any last-minute adjustments that they can make, and that's going to be it, Liv. Once they're out there for 125 laps of competition.
Yeah, and no second chances, no fast repairs available for our drivers in this competition. So if you make a mistake, then you are gonna be taking, you'll be out of the race essentially. That's the main thing here. We do have standing by though one Nicholas Press who'd like to have a quick word with our pole sitter.
Nick Pressey, Rick James, and Liv Hayward up top. It was tied to the 100th of a second for the pole until you decided to come around and beat them by one extra 100th. 24-16 your time. You'll be starting first. Last week at Barber, you came close to victory, but it seemed like the pit strategy let you down. This week, it's going to be about survival. Are you going to play the patient game for 125 laps?
I don't know if we can afford to. Texas has always been a track that has afforded itself to chaos. Being up front means you have a chance to avoid that chaos, but it also lends yourself to the potential of being the chaos, especially with our fuel tonight. It's less than we expected coming in, but we're gonna figure it out. That being said, there's a lot of people here that are definitely willing to pounce on the opportunity to go to the front, get that clean air. Maybe if the situation calls for it, we'll go to the back and come back up when the time calls for it. But for now, I think it's good for me to try and retain that advantage of clean air.
Liv, you got to give some advice to this guy right here. He's so close to getting that victory at this oval at Texas. What do you think he's got to do?
I think, honestly, the strategy is going to be to front run until someone basically forces you back, and then at that point, maybe then you go. I think the middle of the pack is the worst place to be, ultimately. So either hold up at that very front, or maybe then fall back, do maybe a little bit of fuel saving, let yourself pit a little bit off cycle to everyone else, and I think that's probably the way to get yourself back through towards the end of the race.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think that's a good way to go about it.
Well,
birthday's tomorrow.
Yeah.
Maybe this is my present to myself.
Hopefully. Good luck in the race, and maybe we'll talk to you again at the other side of it.
Thank you.
Nick Press is going to get back to work. We've got 90 seconds left in our warm-up. Approximately 90 seconds left in our warm-up, and then we're going to turn him loose. For me, Liv, I'm hoping Nick's going to play the patient game. Obviously he's got the skill. It's no question he's got the skill, but I think for Nick, if he's okay with not riding around in the lead for the entire race, if he can just be comfortable not leading this race and save his stuff until the end, it sounds obvious, but of course he's going to have a shot to win.
Yeah, it's absolutely going to be a matter of... Obviously, tyre wear will not be as much of a factor because of the shorter stints that we're running, but keeping your car in one piece, not being overly aggressive early on, and especially making sure that you don't make mistakes on and off pit road, that's going to be hugely important for these drivers. Using the tools to benefit and to help them out on that is going to be a massive difference, and I think that is going to be the major factor that decides this race.
30 seconds and counting in the warm-up session. Sit tight. We're going to have these cars ready to go. This is the time to grab a drink and a snack before the action gets started. It's the ABN Champ Car World Series from iRacing's Texas Motor Speedway. Cars arriving on the grid, and my anticipation just keeps on getting higher. The racing is real, the cars are simulated, and the action and the competition just doesn't get any higher. If you just tuned in, perfect timing. You haven't missed a thing. I'm Rick James, Liv Hayward by my side, getting ready to roll as the starting lineup comes up. Brooklyn's Nick Pressey starts on the inside of row number 1. He's got the pole next to Brazil's Edson Santos. Behind Pressey, his teammate in the 07, Bryce Saucier, on the inside of row number 2, and then Lilac Zier on his outside. Tucker Sawyer, last week's winner at Barber, starting on the inside of that third row, and then Chris Ryan's going to be starting beside him as well on the outside of row number 3 in this fourth row of competition. Looking at Mitch Sumedo, who's going to be starting on the outside of Mo Perry in the TMR car. Down the back straight, and drivers have half a lap until we get racing. Eli Sasek and George Ward are going to decorate row number 5. The Big Pink, 36, with a shot to win tonight. Liv, Colin McDonough, Jason Duckworth in row number 6. Nope, I've got that wrong. Colin McDonough and Carmen Sienna. The cars are a little out of order in turn 3. As we roll through the rest of the field, we'll get them back in the correct order. There's Jason Duckworth in the Castro machine, and Elias Flores in one of the Ascent cars, 13th and 14th. And in the final row of competition, Dakota Pierce and Alyssa Pelletier Sharp, 15th and 16th, respectively. Pace cars off. We're getting ready to go racing. Nick Pressey on the inside. He puts his foot down, and we are racing at Texas.
Fan out through 1 and 2, and now cars looking to maybe go 3 wide. Pressey sticks to the bottom. Christina Ryan already up 3 positions now as she gets around Bryce Saucier, and is going to maybe go for the lead on the outside into turn number 1 here. Nicholas Pressey on the inside. Going to have to try and defend this, and Bryce Saucier, of course, wants to try and get reconnected with his teammate here. They're going to stick low through 3 and 4. The low line absolutely going to be dominant on this low side through the back half of the lap, but it's about the run that you build coming in towards turn 1. You've got so much room to work with here, and Ryan's going to try it again around the outside.
Nick Pressey goes to the front. Christina Ryan behind him. Cars begin to snake down the back straight, back and forth all night long. Ryan on the outside again, and she's going to get a run out of turn 4.
Yeah, she's just not quite able to clear. It seems like Nicholas Pressey's doing a great job holding that low side right now, but what he's going to do is it's going to start burning up those tires a little bit if he sticks to that for too long. Christina Ryan actually is going to have the nose ahead off turn 2 and has got the move done, but again, pressing that low side gets cut off by the number 80. Christina Ryan, who won this race back in season 2, is to the lead of it again.
At the front, car number 80, Nick Pressey now just, again, needs to be patient. Mo Perry runs in that 3rd position with Bryce Saucier in the 07 sitting in 4th, and this is where the waiting game begins. Single file, some cars 2 abreast, and they need to give each other space. They need to give each other to get the rhythm of the race.
Yeah, you see Nicholas Pressey now falling back a little bit as Mo Perry goes to the outside of the number 80. Great run through turns 1 and 2 there. Now Mo Perry goes to take the lead, and it is going to be clear into turn 3. Last time by, the number 54 set the fastest lap of the race at 24.115.
One of the TMR cars there to the inside. That's going to be the 89 machine, Lilac Zier. Eli Sasek just up ahead in that number 9. Carmen Sienna in the Patron machine, trying to crack the top 5, battling with Brazil's Edson Santos. At the front, new leader in another TMR car, car 5-4, Mo Perry. Liv, Chris Ryan goes to the inside and into 1st.
Yeah, but we saw how good Mo was on the outside line through 1 and 2 last time by. This time, Carmen Sienna's there up 8 positions, now 9, as she works through the field. That is going to restrict Mo's run as Carmen dove to the outside there, right across Mo Perry's nose, and lucky there was just enough room left to get that move done.
2 by 2 in that first row. Chris Ryan across the line leads that lap, and she continues to lead at Texas with Carmen Sienna by her side. Mo Perry settles behind the top 2 while Nick Pressey looks to make his way back into the top 3, and no one, Liv, is content to be in their position right now. Are you seeing the way they're trading blows?
Yeah, no driver, aside from Dakota Pierce at the back, is where they started in this race. Carmen Siena's up 3. Carmen Siena's up 10. Christina Ryan's up 3. Bryce Sosia's down 3. Mitch Semedo down 6. Everyone's shuffling for position here. I think there's some drivers who want to be at the front out of trouble there. Some drivers who want to be sat towards the back where they have time to react to an incident. And I think some drivers are sat in the midfield like Lilac Zir, who's now up to 6th position. She's always been one for a fuel strategy. I think this is going to be what the 89's thinking right now. Stay in the pack, stay where you have as much draft as possible, and try and run a little bit longer than everyone else.
I'm hoping that's going to be the case. As you and I know very well, this race is probably not going to run caution-free much longer, but that's sort of the... And just as I say that, a couple of cars almost make contact. It looks like that's Elias Flores in one of the Ascent machines. He's losing spots left and right. But, Liv, back to what I was mentioning earlier, it's almost part of the charm of Texas is that the race can go wrong so quickly, and drivers have to respect the space between each other. I know it almost sounds funny, but the fact that they've gone 13 laps without a major incident is hopeful.
Yeah, and it's always the early laps of a race like this that dictate the flow of how the race is going to end up. It's so easy for drivers to get antsy early, to get an early wreck and an early caution, and then to never really get out of that cycle. But it seems like everyone has done a good job. We're now at this point already about halfway through this first fuel run, and it's a good sign that these drivers are knowing to work together. Elias Flores, of course, that driver who picked up contact, is still handing on to the back of the pack, and I believe doesn't have any major damage from that incident. Everyone still...
So far, so good. Clean and green. Bryce Sosia in the 07 sits in the 3rd position right now. Nick Pressey behind him in 4th. Mo Perry rounding out the top 5. And at the front, you know what's interesting, Liv, is Carmen Siena's out 0.3 of a second, which won't last very long. But with these fuel runs lasting, 30 laps apiece, it's almost going to be beneficial for drivers not to be leading this race, almost to be able to lift and save as much fuel as possible.
Yeah, and this is definitely something that we've seen from Carmen, a very kind of old school driver in the sense of just wants to be up front for as long as possible. And to be fair, I think the strategy isn't a terrible idea because there's an expectation that we could get some cautions that would ultimately lock those positions in and give Carmen the lead when that happens. But if she ends up on the wrong side of a fuel window, that could end up backfiring massively. And I think the fact that our Season 2 champion behind has not really made an attempt to come back, I think this is a bit strategic from Christina. She was so fast early. I think she could challenge for that position if she wanted to. She's just happy sitting back and letting the race progress right now.
Check out this fight for 5th. Mo Perry just swapped spots, I think, with Lilac Zir. Nick Pressey trying to hold on to that. And then looking at 9th and 10th, Edson Santos, Colin McDonough's trading positions. The French pilot, Pelletier Sharp's involved, and one car's gone around at the back. It looks like Elias Flores, Dakota Pierce have gone around as well. Jason Duckworth in 14th remains unharmed. So far,
and the field comes through this
caution
mild
is
green out
not
caution.
flown.
And there it is.
That's still, there's the yellow flag. Finally, Dakota Pierce motionless on the inside of turn number 3. And this is on lap 19, our first caution. Coming out of turn 2, I'll tell you what happened. Colin McDonough snapped loose. Watch the 38 coming out of the corner. There it is, and Elias Flores just hurtling, almost ramping over the 38. Liv, run that back for me, and from the driver's perspective, tell me what happened to Dakota Pierce.
So, we'll run it in slow-mo here. You see on the wheel, you'll see the overcorrection, but you see before the wheel moves, the car slips out from underneath the rear. That is quite typical of turn 2 here, because you're under so much load, because you're having to work the tool so hard with the lower banking. It's very easy to make the car very loose mid-corner, and then on corner exit, it'll come back around against you. And you saw the overcorrection there from the 38. That will ultimately bring out the caution. It'll bring a good chunk of the field down pit lane as well. With under caution here, Christina Ryan has come in. Interestingly, Carmen Sienna stays out, so again, wants to front run. Is expecting we get more cautions in this one. It's just Sienna, Pressy, Sharp, and McDonough who make that call. Christina Ryan will win the race off pit lane. And that is going to cycle up the field as we hit our first caution about 20 laps into this one.
Just over 100 laps to go at the Texas Motor Speedway. Carmen Sienna being scored as the race leader. Nick Pressy and Lily Sharp running second and third, respectively. Christina Ryan wins the race out of pit road. She runs in 5th. Tucker Sawyer rounding out the top 10, as it were. Elias Flores and Dakota Pierce still motionless in the pits, so it appears that we're going to restart with approximately 14 cars out on the racetrack as Lilac Zir comes up to speed.
Now,
and Liv, yeah, go on, what's up?
Lilac had an extended stop on pit lane there. I'm not sure whether that was to fix damage or maybe if it was for some external reason, potentially. Because I have no record of, well, I didn't see Lilac in any instance early. She's normally a driver who takes it very easy. I think maybe she wants to be at the back here, because she's maybe looking at a fuel target even further outfield. And it could be a very tough 2-stop to the end from here that the number 89 set up for.
Yeah, it's not a bad move. If I'm Lilac and given my skill set, I would prefer to be at the back. But there's plenty of race. It's not going to be the only caution, honestly. If Lilac is smart, she's going to wait until halfway through the race to try and start making her way through this field. There's no point. You know what I mean? These cars are going to be close. It's going to be perilous. I mean, I'm sure you want to get up there and race for the lead. It's only natural. It's why we love racing. It's that instinct to push the car faster. But we have more than 100 laps to go. It's going to be, 102? No, 102 at the line remaining. Don't push the car. Ride in the back.
There's an argument to that, but also look at what happened to Elias Flores there. Was running in the back nice and smoothly. But the more cars you have ahead of you, the more chance there is for an incident to bite you. This, I think, is the balance you have to play. I think the worst place to be is in the middle of the pack because you're so close quarters, but Lilac, I think, is trying to make 34 stints work to the end here. She has to run close cars ahead. It's all about whether she gets the opportunity and can save the fuel as Carmen Sienna wins the field back to green. Away they will roll, and it's a great jump outwards from the 96, who leads the field ahead of the other couple of cars that's opted to stay out. Remember, they'll be in pit lane in maybe 10 laps time. And already Christina is going. She knows that she's in the advantageous strategy here. Already to the inside of Pressy has cleared 3 cars now in the span of just a mile, and I'm sure is now going to consider getting around the old tyres of Carmen Sienna.
96 leading no longer. Ryan on the outside, and she will make it stick. 2x2 for the lead.
Yeah, and like I said, the low side in 3 and 4 is going to just work way better because you're full throttle through this corner without a problem. The shorter line will be the fastest. It's down into turns 1 and 2 where you can carry a lot more momentum on the outside here. Christina sits low, actually. It's Pelletier, Sharp, and Saucier behind who really fan out. As you see, they are 2-3 wide on the backstretch here. They're going to slot in Mo Perry. We're back out of that one. And like we mentioned, Lilac Zir just happy to sit at the tail end here, right ahead of Big Pink. I think she's running in map 5 right now. She's got to be.
Have you seen them clipping the grass in the dog leg towards 1?
I haven't. That seems a little bit dangerous if you ask me.
Yeah, take a look at the dog leg. Going towards turn number 1, there's brown streaks where drivers have been clipping the grass with their tires. And I'm willing to bet sometime tonight, someone's going to go an inch too far and cause a massive incident for themselves and hopefully nobody else.
Yeah, that's remarkable. Obviously, you want to try and take the shortest line. It gives you that defense of the inside and stops someone from trying to cut underneath on the edge of that quad oval. But that's definitely further than I'd like to push it. That's for sure. You don't want to get dirt on the tires if it's just the inside.
Everybody's single file so far, but now Mitch Semedo in that black, green, and white number 8 goes to the outside of last week's winner, Tucker Sawyer, and you start to see them accordion. You only know they're going to get 2 and 3 wide even further. We're in the final 100 now. 29 laps about to be completed. At the front, Liv Bryce Saucier being scored as the race leader, Christina Ryan, a quarter of a second adrift.
Yeah, and this is the thing now. The cars that stayed out are still obviously at the front of the pack, but they have fallen from the very lead. You've got 3rd, 4th, 6th, and 7th of those drivers. They're 30 laps on fuel. There's been one caution, of course, but it looks like already Carmen Sienna are going to have to make that pit stop, and that looked like a remarkably fast entry. Did Carmen manage to get it slowed down in time? I think just about has gotten away with it. Expect the next car's in very shortly indeed. And that gives a breakaway to Bryce Saucier and Christina Ryan, who now have 9/10 of a second on Pelletier, Sharp, and Sasek here in their fight for 3rd.
31 laps now complete, 32 underway of the scheduled 125. Half a second at the front, but again, we have several drivers, about 3 that I can count, that have not yet pitted. So now we've got 2 different cycles at breakneck speeds at Texas that a caution can either solve or completely ruin somebody's night.
Yeah, and it is worth noting in terms of green flag pit stops here, you have to come into the pit lane, coming into turn number 3. They'd start to be the safest option for drivers to not cause a massive incident on the exit of turn 4. You gotta telegraph it and stay on the apron down through as if it was the new Atlanta.
Side-by-side battles for position in that 6th spot. Tucker Sawyer now trying to wrestle Alyssa Pelletier Sharp for 7th, and then Nick Pressey for 5th, who's now not trying to give up the ground on the outside, but behind that fight, check this out, 2 and almost 3 wide. Cars coming into the pits, resigning their positions on track. Edson Santos and Lilac Zir, 2x2 out of turn number 4 at the line. It looks like Zir just gets around Santos for that spot.
Yeah, and I know that Zir likes to run a fuel-safe strategy, but ultimately can't let the leaders run away. Saucier and Ryan are 2 seconds clear of Sasset now, as those cars on old tyres and short tanks really bunch the field up behind. And I think Lilac wants to get to the front of at least this pack so that she doesn't get completely left behind. I'm honestly thinking that Christina is probably happy to sit behind Bryce Saucier, and if you see the gap, if you can just follow in the wheel tracks and not fight the car ahead, you might be able to pull that 2 seconds to 3, 4, 5 before you have to make your pit stop.
Tight battles for the 4th and 5th position. Mitch Semedo, Tucker Sawyer nose to tail. Jason Duckworth, Mo Perry now switching spots. 1/10 separates them. And the cycles are exciting to watch, especially when you have cars going side by side, fighting for position. Just, you see the timing and scoring just fluctuate back and forth, 1/10, 5/100ths. You almost have to keep your eyes everywhere on the racetrack at one time so you don't miss any of the battles. Take a look at third right now. You've got Eli Sasek on the inside, Mitch Tomato on the outside, both of them pitted on lap 21.
Yeah, now all of the cars remaining on the lead lap are ones that took that pit stop under caution. The drivers one lap down, and spread out by a good few seconds at this point, are the ones who had to take that green flag stop. And here comes Lilac Zero on the inside. Gets past one, can't quite clear the second, and might on that low side now give the spot back up to Tucker Sawyer. But they're going to be side by side down the back stretch. And it looks like Zero will back out and let Tucker Sawyer slot back in, as Eli Sasset maybe now getting shuffled out to the back.
Mitch Tomato on the inside with Tucker Sawyer on his outside, and these two continuing to trade blows, trade space on the racetrack. 39 laps about to be completed. Liv, who do you see as most improved so far as we're about a third of the way into this race?
I mean, we've got Tomato at 5 positions, we've got Sasek and Duckworth up 4. But you've got to think that building a 4-second gap in the lead for Saucier and Ryan is absolutely the most dominant showing so far. These cars battling behind for essentially scraps is giving those two leaders a chance to break away completely, and they'll look to consolidate that in the next green flag cycle, which again we're approaching drivers now 20 laps on this run.
So expect drivers to come in what, the next 10 laps?
About 10 laps, yeah.
You're getting close together, though. Take a look at 5th all the way through 9th. These drivers separated by about 0.6 of a second. And because they're moving at such amazing speeds, the draft, it works like magnets. You've got the two Ascent cars there. Take a look at Sawyer in 5th. Sasek now on his outside. It's almost like the car just doesn't settle because you're coming up. The closing speed is so fast on the car ahead of you. You have to anticipate not just the pass on the outside, but how little time you have to react.
Yeah, and with the high banking in turn 3 and 4, you're basically on throttle for, more than a mile of this track in one go. From the exit of 2 all the way back to the entry of 1. You don't want to lose that momentum by lifting to slot back in line. You want to try and carry it on whichever line you can find, but then it all comes to a head on the entry of 1 where everyone fans out because you need the clean air through the flatter banking down 4 degrees from the other side of the racetrack to find any grip and continue your run through the field. Lilac has made it to 3rd now and is starting to pull away from the cars behind, but it's 4 seconds from her up to the top 2. 5 seconds to Saucier even, as he started to run away from Christina Ryan. This is a very big ask for all of these cars now. They've just let these two run, and I don't know what their response is going to be.
1.25 seconds seems like quite a gap for Saucier to Ryan. I'm assuming that if he's burning up more fuel than the rest of the competition, he's going to obviously have to come in sooner. Then you've got Christina Ryan in the 80. I mean, that's what 1.2 seconds looks like. And I'm willing to bet money Saucier is going to come in. Further back, though, Edson Santos, Mo Perry, Tucker Sawyer have been fighting it out brutally over these last few laps for position. There you see Santos going around the 19 of Sawyer. 48 laps underway at Texas.
And they're battling once again at the front of this pack. Lilac Zare to the high side is going to get swallowed by 2 different drivers in Watermeadow with Sasek as well. This might be, again, Zare realizing she can't catch the drivers ahead and instead opting to settle into a fuel-safe strategy. Because, frankly, how else are you going to try and get the upper hand back? The gap is 5.1 between Ryan and George Ward now. Ryan has closed in a little bit back onto Bryce Sosa with a fantastic lap time of just a couple tenths off her personal best. There's no way to manage this when the drivers are fighting so hard for third place.
They keep getting closer. The laps keep ticking up higher. But again, the pit stops haven't begun just yet. And we're, 5-6 laps away from the cycles. Who's that coming back up onto the racetrack? That looks like...
That's Bryce
Who's
Sosa.
losing it there? Is that Saucier? That is Saucier. Is he on right before the pits?
Yeah,
right before the pits.
So
Liv.
he was
Huge
coming
mistake.
in to make the pit stop on the entry of turn 3 and just got oversteer through the middle of turn 3, snapped it away from the wall, manages to not wreck the race car or cause a caution. He will make that pit stop, but that'll drop him back towards the rest of the pack. And essentially now the question is, can Christina Ryan make a clean entry to consolidate her 5-second lead?
4.8 at the front, Liv. Big Pink George Ward moves in second, and he's got all the competition behind. For Saucier, Liv, what's the recovery strategy, if anything at all? This is going to cost him so much time.
I think the main thing you have to hope if you are the 07 is that you, after this second pack make their pit stops, that you catch on to at least one driver here. It can be at the tail end. We've seen how you can work your way forward if need be, but you have to be in the pack, otherwise you're going to really struggle. He's got some fresh tyres on. He's got now out back on the racetrack and has made it cleanly back in, as Christina Ryan is now rolling on pit exit 1 lap down. But if we go and follow Bryce Sosa here, is entering turn number 1 and actually is catching up quite quickly to the 80 Christina Ryan. Though she is a full, maybe 4 or 5 seconds ahead, as now a bunch of the leaders come in at once. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars all making the call down pit lane. Sassett, Ward, Zare, Sawyer, and Duckworth. And it's just Edson Santos and Mo Perry who opt to stay out for another lap.
Mo Perry was within a couple of tenths of Edson Santos. In fact, they traded and they swapped spots a couple of times there. Edson Santos now by himself. Yeah. So it was a much closer battle than what we now see. And the gap is obviously massive. Now Santos looks like he's slowing down, and it's now his time to come into the pits. Now Mo Perry is also in. Santos is on his way in, and the only thing that can get in his way is himself. On the racetrack, Carmen Siena's in third. Christina Ryan is in fourth. Nick Pressey running in fifth. And we're approaching halfway. So far, Liv, most of the drivers seem to still be sticking with each other. And as a matter of fact, Christina Ryan just went purple, 24.02.
Yeah, I think caught some good slipstream from Carmen Sienna and Nicholas Pressey, who, remember, are on much older tyres. They pit way back when. It actually has helped them run at pace and catch back up to the lead of this race. But Christina Ryan is there with the better tyres now, the better fuel, and she's going to try and run away from Sienna and Pressey. Bryce Sosa is just actually only 2.3 seconds back, so the rest of the field not capitalising the way that they would have hoped, as Carmen Sienna now pulls down pit lane again. Basically an entire pit stop behind now for the 96. And the trailing pack behind.
Liv, take a look at 4th through 7th here. They're separated by just a couple of tenths of a second. If you look further back, George Ward is side by side with Pelletier Sharp.
Yeah, again, this is ultimately the pit cycle hasn't shuffled things around too much. All of the drivers who were in that trailing pack have stayed there. Besides, I think Duckworth has just been dropped by a couple seconds now. The main cycle was Bryce Sosa, who made that mistake on entry, but has been charging hard to catch back up to Christina Ryan. And of course, Sosa has his teammate Pressey, who's on the alternate strategy in this pack. And I think the 94 is making sure to give as much clean air and as much draft as possible when necessary to the 07 to make sure that he can catch back up to the leaders. There we go. Bryce Sosa now within a second of Christina again, despite that spin going towards pit lane. And that battle's right back on as well.
Tucker Sawyer now gets around Alyssa Pelletier-Sharp for the 10th position. Bryce Saucier running by his lonesome behind him. 5.44 seconds back to Eli Sasek, who leads this ever-changing fight. Colin McDonough in the 39 currently runs in 7th, up 5 places from where he started. Lilac Zier in the 89 machine sits in front of Eli Sasek now. That's 4th and 5th, respectively. Mo Perry creeps into the picture, Liv.
Yeah, and of course, you're expecting teamwork between the 89 and the 54. Both Taylor Mills Racing drivers, they ran together all season last year. And it's always good in a situation like this where maybe some drivers are struggling to hit a fuel number. If you have a teammate who can help share that burden with you, it is going to help you out a hell of a lot as both drivers stitch that low side, though at the front of the field. Bryce Sosa is going to go to the lead, and once again, actually, Christina Ryan is not going to fight, is going to let the 07 punch the hole in the air for now.
And Christina Ryan sits in that 2nd position right now behind the 07 of Bryce Saucier, who is just barely at the front of this race. And surprising, given that Saucier pitted on 50, Ryan pitted on 52, but given that mistake, Bryce Saucier now just trying to hold on to this as best as he can. Live, they still fight nose to tail.
Yeah, and Nicholas Pressey finally making that call down to pit lane. It's now just the 2 cars leading the field, and then 6 whole seconds back to Lilac Zier, Eli Sasek, Mo Perry, and the rest. You've got 7 cars in this train. 8 cars make that. But there's just no way to try and drive it up towards those leaders. They found the gap that they needed. They are working together, sensible enough from the 80 to let one car do the work for them both. And as McDonough comes out of pit, they have to serve in a penalty on entry. They
Saucier
just have,
Sorry,
they
go
just
ahead.
they just have what they need at the front of the field. The rest of these cars, they're fighting just a little bit too much still.
Saucier 0.3 of a second ahead of Christina Ryan. We're past the halfway mark now. And again, drivers expected to go, what, 30 to 35 laps, depending on how much they save here. But we're expecting what more? 2 more stops to the end, Liv?
I think from every driver, yes. Maybe Pressey and Sharp, since they've just pit, we'll be able to extend, but it's going to be tough for them. And Sienna, I think, has basically put herself back on cycle with the rest of the field. Only pit 2 laps after Santos, who, of course, started a pit stop ahead under this green flag run. I think most drivers will need 2 stops. It's possible that some of them can make it on 1, but I would only count on it being those drivers in 12th, 13th, and 14th that have only just made the call down pit lane, and they're a lap down.
I'm really interested to see who's going to make the most out of these pits, because, of course, we know that attacking the pit lane can make all that difference. But what I'm interested in is also this 6-second gap, if you will, from 5th to 3rd. Christina Ryan ahead of Lilac Zier by over 5.5 seconds now. Where is this coming from? Is it really the difference on pit road, or did 3rd on back just lose that draft?
They were just fighting too much. No one was acting as a trusted leader of the pack, really. You see, now that Lilac Zier, the reigning champion, is at the front of this field, she's able to sort of pull away from the drivers behind, and because of that, they're not challenging her into the corner. She's able to use the whole racetrack however she likes, and she's stabilizing the gap. It's been about 5-6 seconds for the past 10 laps or so, but the damage is done because the two drivers at the front are not going to give up any time by fighting. We've seen Christina Ryan very happy to sit behind for the entire stint and let Bryce Sosa lead them away from the field. She's going to try and pounce in that final pit stop and do the final stint once it's already a two-horse race.
I've got my eyes on 6th and 7th, George Ward, Tucker Sawyer. I think we talked to Tucker Sawyer last week. He said Texas was not one of his strong suits. He wasn't kidding, which is ridiculous, right? Because he runs in 7th. He's having a great race right now, but this is such a contrast from the dominance that we saw last week at Barber, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's what makes a car like this and a series like this so fascinating and so fun to watch. You've got such different types of track to run. Bear in mind, we've not even seen some short track racing yet. We're going to get some of that as we get towards May, but between these road courses and these big flying ovals, a driver really has to be good on all surfaces to be able to take a championship. And ultimately, even if you're not dominant on ovals the way that Tucker Sawyer has been on road so far this season, the fact that he's hanging inside the top half in this peloton, right now that's enough. You just have to not make mistakes on your weaker tracks, and then you make your gains on the stronger ones. Right now, Tucker Sawyer is running a perfect opening to the championship.
Let's assume Tucker Sawyer gets that top 6 position. I'm going to take a brief look at the calendar and see just what's next for him. But we have a break this upcoming week, don't we?
Yeah, a break after this week, and then 2 road courses to lead us in towards the 500. Long Beach, our first street circuit of the season, and then Sonoma. So long as Tucker Sawyer comes in even within striking distance of the championship, as Bryce Sosa is down on pit lane here, he's finally run out of fuel with 47 laps to go. He'll be able to make huge gains those next 2 rounds. That's the plan for him.
If it's 47 to go for Bryce Sosa, then that effectively makes this a one-stop race for him, but he's also on the same... No, that's actually not true. I'm sorry. If it's 47 to go, that makes it a 2-stop race for Bryce Sosa. Effectively, it would be a 2-stop race for most drivers as well, except Nick Pressey, Lissy Sharp, and Colin McDonough. They pitted respectively on 64, 65, and 62. If you assume they can go 30 laps, those drivers, and also, well, I don't know. It's real close. Now that Bryce Sosa is pitted on lap 77, it becomes a one-stop race for them, 2-stop race for everybody else.
Yeah, and this is the interesting thing, which is that Bryce Sosa has come out just ahead of his teammate in the 94. You see them both in shot there. Pressey and Sharp both went on the alternate strategy, staying out during that opening caution about lap 20. And that's put them off cycle for the entire run. Now, for those two, it seems like it might have paid off because they're able to stick with the leaders when it happens, or at least Nicholas Pressey's been running quickly enough to latch back onto this pack. Who I am worried about is Carmen Sienna, who hasn't been able to run very long in the in those stints after going for that strategy. Carmen Turner's basically already fallen back onto the side of the rest of the field, but obviously taking that additional trip down pit lane. I think it's going to be down to Sosa and Ryan, of course, on the main strategy, and then Nicholas Pressey trying to make this alternate run work, as Christina Ryan is in fact down on pit lane, and it hands the lead over to Eli Sasek and Mo Perry.
Sasek in the lead, Perry 0.4 of a second. Sasek's on his way down into the pits. Mo Perry will stay out and become top dog on the racetrack. Big Pink George Ward, the rookie, fills in the silver medal position, and then Edson Santos, 3.5 seconds adrift, will now he remains in. No, that's Tucker Sawyer. I'm sorry. I'm looking this out of order, Liv. I'm all confused trying to watch 17 different battles on the racetrack. Tucker Sawyer and Edson Santos are just separated by a quarter of a second. Well, not anymore. There it is. Tucker Sawyer decides to come into the pits.
And this is where everything really becomes crucial. Christina Ryan is out on the racetrack again, just ahead of Carmen Sienna. And then, of course, Bryce Sosa. Sienna on that high side in that bright green machine. I think that's a lapped car directly behind. That'll be, I think, Mitchell Semedo. But then you see a couple cars back as, again, Sienna's into the pit lane before Mo Perry.
What's going on with the 96?
I think there's burning some fuel somewhere because that cycle is really not working for Carmen. Mo Perry and George Ward still out from the lead lap. Carmen has actually picked up a black flag on entry there as well. So...
Well, that's her race, isn't it?
Her race done. Yeah, it's a really unfortunate run for Carmen in this one. But Edson Santos has been going longest in that first and is going to go longest again. I am curious to see when the number 20, and in fact the 54 as well, when he is going to pull it down pit lane and whether he thinks he can save a stop and essentially put a lap on the field. George Ward's in pit lane behind. Christina Ryan unlaps herself from the number 20. That's the difference in pace between the two. I think the Brazilian might be on a fuel save run here.
George Ward came into the pits. Mo Perry is also in the pits, so he gives up the lead. Edson Santos, for him, the magic number is going to be, well, effectively, he pitted on lap 56. It's 88 now, so we know he can go 32 laps. And every lap he goes further, obviously, we know he can stretch it for him. As long as he, I would say this, if he makes it to lap 90... essentially, he can make it to the end on one tank of fuel. Now, granted, he needs to save a lot. Right now, he's in the lead. But this strategy only works if everybody else goes fewer than 35 laps on a tank of fuel. Liv, he's in.
And this is, with 36 to go, I think it's just a little bit too far. I don't think he can make this one work, but he's going to put himself on that. I mean, in this situation, it could be a thing where you maybe go for a splash and dash at the end, or I think if you're really lucky, you get that caution with 3 or 4 laps to go. It neutralizes and ends the race, and you never have to pay back those final couple laps.
8th place is up for grabs. Pelletier, Sharp, Tucker Sawyer, 0.2 of a second. 2nd place, well, now the lead up for grabs. Bryce Sosa and Christina Ryan separated by a couple tenths as well, and Nick Pressey only 1 second adrift. But of course, the great equalizer constantly looms in the shadows, the yellow flag. 35 laps to go next time by. Edson Santos comes out of the pits, and Tucker Sawyer side by side with Alyssa Pelletier Sharp down the back straight, swapping spots at the front. Bryce Sosa just trying to hold off Christina Ryan. 0.2 of a second between them. Liv, we've got awesome battles in 2 parts of this racetrack.
Yeah, and again, we'll see whether Christina Ryan lets Bryce do this, but there is the concern that Bryce might be now trying to play the team game to bring Nicholas Pressey in, who should be able to pit soon and take the final stop. He's managed to just remain on this lead cycle with Sosa and Ryan, but also further back, Lilac Zir has broken free of the patch behind. Eli Sassett trying to hold on. She's now only 4 seconds off the race lead, so she's done a great job starting to claw that gap back in. It's what you expect from our reigning champion, of course, moving to a part-time schedule. And she could be one last spanner in the works for this lead trio.
2 cars coming in off that 3rd corner. Big Pink George Ward still battling super close with Tucker Sawyer for that 7th position. For now, that battle for 1st is rather subdued. Pelletier Sharp is in, McDonough is in. Jason Duckworth and Mitch Semedo will climb through those ranks, and they swap spots. Semedo into 10th, Duckworth in 11th, back and forth. They go through turn 1, and up ahead is the 94 of Nick Pressey. So he's now going to dive into the pits. Liv, cars coming on, coming off. There's so much happening right now.
Yeah, and this is the final stop now for Nicholas Pressey. Will go 31 laps to the end. Has only made it 29 here, to be fair, so has a little bit more work to do in the final stint, but this is the crucial thing. He pits from just a second behind this lead fight as Christina Ryan has to let cars come back in off the apron on pit exit, but is now going to take the low side in turns 3 and 4. The number 80 has seen the cars loom. She's seen that Sosia's teammate is now out of view and off cycle. She wants to wait no longer. The number 80 car back to the lead of this race.
8-0 to the lead, 07 behind him, and now they start to separate just a bit. Bryce needs to keep his cool. Ryan has been here tonight before. She's led 18 laps so far. As we complete lap number 96, we are inside the final 30 laps of competition. Tucker Sawyer, 3/10 behind George Ward. Edson Santos, 3/10 behind Tucker Sawyer. We're going to keep an eye on these cars, especially if the pit strategy is going to dominate. At the front, Ryan now has to play defense with Saucier.
And it might be a little bit too early to fight. These two now both want to be the ones leading the pack. Lilac Zir, sitting behind, gained 3/10 last lap. He's gained about 2-3 a lap as these drivers go side by side and restrict the room for each other. Lilac, of course, does have a bit of traffic deal with a lot of traffic, in fact. Will go on board with the number 89 as she tries to get around Carmen Sienna. The front of this train that you see out in the distance, those are your race leaders. So as much as the 89 might have great pace in the car, there's a whole lot of trouble to get from where she is up to that lead duo.
1/10 of a second at the front, 7th and 8th, still just a couple of tenths apart. It will be 25 laps to go next time by. And this is where things, if they haven't already gotten tense, they get even more tense because drivers know that you have to go now. If you haven't made your move towards the front, you have to go now. But of course, you've got guys like Edson Santos who he's not looking to advance any faster than he has to. He's looking to make sure he has the gas to go the distance.
Yeah, I think it's too much to ask for the 20. I have seen stranger things happen, but I think he's going to have to come in. The question is going to be for him and for some of these other front runners ultimately. When they make that final pit stop, are they going to take a fresh set of Firestones with them, or are they going to save those few seconds on pit lane, take a splash and dash, and hope they can tiptoe their way back out onto the racetrack just a couple seconds ahead of the rest of the field? Tucker Sawyer, George Ward, Edson Santos all fighting for 6th place here. Very close fight between, well, I mean, a championship contender and, oh, Santos, our oval expert, into the wall there off 2. He's going to fall back a little bit. And the caution is out on the racetrack.
Well, that just changes everything, and that just means that strategy means absolutely nothing. Everything that we just talked about means nothing, and that's Mitch Semedo in the number 8. And Carmen Sienna, I think they both had an incident. Yeah, Semedo off of turn number 4, just comes back up onto the racetrack. Jason Duckworth barely avoids him. Nowhere for Carmen Sienna to go, and she is a casualty in this second caution of the race. How about that? Was that?
As onboard Carmen Sienna, let's get a look at the view from Mitchell Semedo's cockpit here. When off turn 4, just straightens out a little bit, ultimately. You then get the sort of rally cross. He tries to hold on to it, but can't make it work. And that straight at the end was the car of Carmen Sienna flying through. And that is Mo Perry just about getting around as the number 8 is stranded backwards. And what this does do is it neutralizes all of that pit strategy. 8 cars on the lead lap as we go towards pit lane. You see a couple drivers stay out. They're going to take the wave around. Nicholas Pressey, one of the notables, who's going to get back onto the lead lap. Jason Duckworth, Pelletier Sharp as well. The 73 might be short on fuel, but 94, 71 are guaranteed to be good to the end. Christina Ryan led the field into the pit lane. Bryce Saucier behind. Ian Peels, Edson Santos, and Christina Ryan comes out and will win the race off pit lane. Bryce Sosa behind than Eli Sassett and Mo Perry as we prepare for a restart with less than 20 laps to go.
If you need a snack, if you need something to hold on to, this is the time to grab it. Drivers are going to take a break and catch their breaths. I don't think we're done, though. I would be surprised if this is the last caution we run tonight. Liv, what are we looking for? Any sort of green-white checkered situations? Does that apply in ABN Champ Car?
Absolutely not. We will run 125 laps, and then whoever has the lead of the race will go to victory lane. So that will be in drivers' minds here. Once you get into the final 4 laps of the race, you need to be at the point. You can't afford to wait for the final lap to make a move, because you might not be able to make a move when we get to that point. The field will come through. This will be the wanted green. We again have 10 cars on the lead lap. I believe Leah Pelletier Sharp has ended up trapped behind the field here. And so it will just be Nicholas Pressey able to take the wave round with Jason Duckworth to challenge for the race. He will have 10 lap older tyres, crucially, than the drivers behind. But we've seen what the 94 can do, and expecting big things from that car coming up back through the field.
Lights are out atop the pace car. Green this time by.
And we've seen the 80 and the 07 work so well together for about 80 laps or so. That ends here. We're going to be running 19 laps to the finish. We don't know how many of those will be under green. It's go time for sure. And I would not be surprised if Ryan, from the very outset on this restart, looks to try and break away from the field and let the cars fight behind. We've got 2 Ascent teammates directly behind who are going to want to try and use the numbers advantage against number 80.
Pace car is off. We're ready to go. 19 laps will become 18 to go when they cross this line. Green flag is out, and a great jump by Christina Ryan. Bryce Saucier on the outside, and they tune up to speed and song.
And Sosa actually a little bit too high there. In 1 and 2 gets shuffled out by Mo Perry and down all the way to 6th place for the 07. Not the restart I wanted, a little bit too passive. I think in terms of claiming space on that low side, it's now Eli Sassett who's challenging on the outside for this race lead. Tucker Sawyer directly behind. What a way this would be. 3 or 4 races to open up his championship campaign if he can get around these couple of drivers. There we go. Ryan.
Look at him snake.
Defends low. Knows how important that line is through 3 and 4. Sassett just has to fly back to the outside and maybe get the move done around the top through turn number 1. Here we go.
Sassett on the outside. He's got to get some juice. He's got to get something going, but he's got plenty of time, plenty of patience to make it happen. Tucker Sawyer enters the frame.
There's just nowhere for Sassett to go. He wants to get underneath Christina Ryan coming into turn 3, but she's not opening the door up. She's not opening it in the tri-oval either. She's liking having that low side. Enters a lane low, of course, to leave space for Sassett, but aside from that, she is giving nothing to the number 9. Bryce Sosa has managed to work back to 3rd. He's actually going to go underneath Sassett as he goes high. Sosa now up to 2nd place, and we've seen how the 07's been able to make some moves on Christina Ryan. Can he do it this time?
2x2 for the lead. Saucier on the outside. Christina Ryan gives up a little bit of daylight on the inside there. Saucier, he's got the speed down the back straight now and looking to take Tucker Sawyer with him. Does Saucier cut to the inside? Well, Ryan now occupies that speed, and they're still side by side. How about Tucker Sawyer now trying to move into 2nd?
Within the final 15 laps of the race now, all the drivers able to get to second place, but then they seem to lose momentum trying to make a move work on Christina Ryan. She's just putting up the perfect defense right now, and drivers are not able to make it work. The question is, how much longer will her tires be able to hold on to that low side as Lilac Zir looks to try and go 3 wide here, maybe into turn number 1. That defense is just going to burn up the Firestones on the 80.
Still too much time remaining. Look at Bryce Saucier. He's really pushing the envelope. I think it's too early to make moves like this. The impatience is starting to show in that 0-7, and just like that, he scrubs off way too much speed out of turn number 2. Now it's Lilac Zir's turn to occupy the space behind the 80.
And we'll see what Lilac can do. Again, our reigning champion. 2 champions now dueling at front of the field. I think she's been a little bit impatient. She's willing to sit behind, not trying to make that move up high. I mean, tucked out of the slipstream a little bit, and maybe actually is going to have a decent run off turn 4 here. This could be where the tyres start to die out for Christina Ryan, but she's got to make a big move like it does around the top side. And it's just not going to work this time. She's going to have to slot back in.
E-car scrubs off speed on the inside. Zir to the outside. Eli Sasek now occupies the 2nd position on the low side. The points leader, Tucker Sawyer, moves into 4th.
And I think the problem is now, you see, she popped out of the line. She couldn't get the run, and now Eli Sasek is challenging on that low side. I think trying to go to the high side in 3 and 4 is too early. You have to be patient and wait for, as you come into the quad oval, that's when you make your pop. As there's contact, maybe netcode assisted between Zir and Saucier. They both hold on to it, but now they're scrapping for second. And this is exactly what Christina wants to see in her rearview mirror.
Ryan dives to the inside, almost bins it up on the inside line. Saucier behind her now.
And you see now Saucier defending that top side has gotten past Lilac Zir, but from the cockpit of the 89, she won't know how much of that was netcode. She just felt the 07 get into her side pod, and she's not going to want to give anything to the Nicholas Presti Motorsports driver. Now, speaking of Presti, up to 7th place, trying to make the way through, but there's just so much on the race. Says Zir, she just gets it dirt. Yeah, moves up high. Sawyer gets around.
07 of Saucier, check that out. He's back in the game, and just like that, your whole race can change. Everything's really speeding up now. Your reactions have to be in tip-top shape. Saucier now giving way on the outside. Tucker Sawyer starting to occupy that inside line. And so far, Ryan playing a great defense.
Yeah, Nicholas Presti now up to 5th place after taking that wave around. We're pretty sure he's good on fuel, so it is all push for the number 94. Saucier now back down to 4th place. Tucker Sawyer trying to challenge Christina on the inside. Lilac Zir will swoop around the outside. She just up to 2nd place, and now, once again, the tables turn. But no one has been able to make a charge and actually take that race lead from the 80.
Zir on the outside. She's got the best shot coming to 5 laps to go, and still anything can happen. 2 by 2 into turn number 1.
And she's fully alongside here through turn 1, but the short line with the clean air is just going to be dominant. Zir can't do anything to get the nose fully ahead. Bryce Saucier looks to make it 3 wide on the top, but has no help in terms of slipstream. And Lilac Zir will cover it coming through the quad oval here. Now Nicholas Presti is looking for a move. NPEM side by side in the battle for 3rd place, but now that's Tucker Sawyer. Contact.
Tucker Sawyer. Oh, there they go. They go. There's your caution right there before the end. Christina Ryan is your leader. Christina Ryan's your leader. They're coming to 3 laps to go. There won't be enough time to clean this up by the time they get the caution, the pace car, the safety car. It's going to be, 2 to go, and not enough time to clean this one up. Christina Ryan will come away with the race win, providing she can make the next 3 laps under her own power, which shouldn't be any issue whatsoever. Bryce Saucier, Mo Perry, Tucker Sawyer involved in that caution with 5 laps to go. The points leader, Liv Tucker Sawyer, is going to finish in 12th if he can't get that race car moving again.
And ultimately, I think it was a self-inflicted error there from Tucker Sawyer. Tried to go middle between the two NPM cars. We'll ride on board with Bryce Sosa for this one as well and see what it looked like. And I think the dirty air from Lilac Zir just drifts the 19 up. There's that contact with the 07 at this point. I think the 19's already broken, gets sent into the path of Mo Perry and Edson Santos, but Bryce Sosa forced all the way up into the wall. That forces more damage, and I think at that point, the rear axle gives up and spins him to the inside. Very, very lucky escape from Edson Santos through all of that. Not so lucky for Mo Perry. I believe the 54 will be able to limp it back and take the checkered flag. But Edson Santos managed to hold on for 4th place there. But most importantly, as the field wraps through, lights still on the pace car with 2 laps to go, that will be your race official. Christina Ryan, as has happened before, just has the next 2 miles or so as a victory parade with Lilac Zir and Nick Pressey behind.
Fireworks right before the end, and a relatively speaking anticlimactic finish it will be. Not under green, but still a thriller for 121 of the 125 laps as they run. Christina Ryan, Lilac Zir, Nick Pressey, 1, 2, 3. They will pace for another 1.5 miles, and then we'll put this one to bed.
While we are waiting here, should we have a look at the moment of caution? Let's jump to this battle for the lead. They're fighting side by side. This is through the exit of turn number 4 here. The wreck will be behind these two. But you see Christina Ryan just has the run through turn 1. Lilac not able to build anything down the back stretch. And is fully behind by the time the caution lights come on the entry of turn 3. That is what won the number 80 the race.
That close. And you think back to all the attempts that Lilac Zir had to get in front of Christina Ryan, and she's going to be thinking about, well, if I just change this or if I just change that. But that's the charm of racing, is that at that point she had no idea, yet she's racing for the win in turn number 3. In her mind, there's still another 4 laps to go. Half a lap remains, and that's going to be it.
You know there's the potential, but there's nothing you can do in that situation. You've just got to try and find the run whenever you can, and Christina Ryan, faultless on the defense.
That's it, and that's exactly how the cookie crumbles in this particular case. So round number, what is this? Round number 5 is going to come to 4. Is it 4? It's round 4 in our 20 race season. It's going to come down to a caution flag finish. Don't forget, next week we are going to be taking a break, but the week after that, it's going to be the streets of Long Beach. Are we taking a break next week? Is that right or no?
Yeah.
We are taking a break. Okay, then Long Beach is going to end up being round number 5, and then Sonoma after that. So 2 road courses in a row before the 7th Arrowhead 500 from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. That's Christina Ryan, your race winner. Lilac Zir is going to be in 2nd, and Nick Pressey is going to finish in 3rd. We're going to collect our podium here in just a moment.
Let's run through our race results. Just to fully recap what we saw here at Texas, Christina Ryan, of course, wins the race under caution from Lilac Zir, and then Nicholas Pressey, or pole sitter, holds on for a 3rd place finish. Edson Santos survives that final melee, will come home P4 ahead of George Ward, Eli Sassett, Jason Duckworth, and Mo Perry, limping a wounded car back around for 8th place. Pelletier Sharp will be classified P9. Bryce Sosa and Tucker Sawyer, involved in that incident, will finish 3 laps down, along with Colin McDonough. And then Mitchell Semedo, Carmen Sienna, Elias Flores, and Dakota Pierce, your other retirements from today's race.
A productive evening for Ryan, for Zir, for Pressey, and now we just wait to get our podium.
Before that, we get to see a little bit of tire smoke, as Christina Ryan does not need anything else from these Firestones. And he's going to burn it down in front of the fans here.
On the podium now with a couple of our top three. Let's go ahead and start with our first place finisher, gold medalist tonight in the number 80 Twitch machine, Christina Ryan, and leading a handful of laps tonight. But Christina, were you playing that defense thinking that the race might not end under green?
Wasn't even looking at the lap count. I was defending with my life, to be honest, because
Christina, there we go.
Hi. Yeah, no, I was defending with my life. I didn't look at the lap count. I didn't really care about that. I knew the inside would be so dominant. I wanted, if there was going to be a caution, I was hoping it would be at the end, because I didn't want to have to deal with having to make another decision on pit strategy, because the fresh tires are really important. But no, I was full Takuma Sato. I was either going to win the race and stay on that bottom lane, or I was going to wreck myself trying, and hopefully not take anybody else with me. So I've been in this position before. We won our first race in the modern era here, and that was huge. We had a shot to win it last year. We got caught up in a wreck, and that's why we have the apron rule on the pitting now. So everything went right for us today, and I'm just so stoked. I'm over the moon. It does mean a lot, and I really love this track with these cars, and to be able to be a repeat winner here, especially with how dominant we've always been here. It's so hard to put a full race together, and we did it. So I'm stoked.
It's going to shake up the points big time. Congratulations on that victory, and enjoy your break. Liv, you've got our silver medalist, Lilac Zier.
I sure do. Lilac, welcome to the booth. Second place finish for you tonight. Talk us through that one. First of all, were you trying to make it on fuel with 2 stops from that first caution?
Yeah, I definitely started out thinking that would be possible, and then as the run went on, the top few cars pulled away, and I thought I might not have enough draft to make that possible, and then I realized even the people who went farther than me with more draft weren't going to make it, so I just started going full push after that.
And then, of course, you were slowly catching up to the duo of Christina and Bryce there. When the final caution came out, it gave you one last chance to fight on track for that race lead, but do you think there was any way around that number 8 machine tonight, or was the defense just too strong for coming from behind?
I think it would have been real tough. I think maybe if you get the right scenario in traffic, or have saved the tires better, maybe, but it would have been real hard.
Well, of course, still a fantastic result for what I believe is your first start of the season.
Yeah,
Show it's exactly where you left off, I've got to say. So congratulations. Anyone want to shout out? Of course, the floor is yours. But other than that, we'll see you next time.
yeah. I mean, shout out to my team, TMR. I joined late and didn't have Discord up, and I couldn't get into teams with chat with Mo to help them out there, so I feel bad about that. Shout out to the green cone at the end of pit lane when that last caution happened. The wreck was in front of me, and I was trying to avoid it, and I went a little low, and I got wing damage on there, but not a pit penalty. So I had to go repair the wing when I took the last stop. So that put me back a little bit, and I drove back up through there, and it was crazy. It was like everyone was taking different lines. I wasn't trying to block there when somebody ran into the back of me and actually gave me wheel damage. Not a meatball, but I was just like, well, I hope the car sticks to the ground. I'm going to keep flooring it. But I was just trying to follow Christina there. Tucky didn't get the draft, and they had a bigger run than I thought. So if that's a penalty, then so be it. I won't be going for points championship here anyway. But yeah, shout out to my work schedule for actually having a weird fluke where I could race this week. And my friends and everybody watching home.
Wonderful. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Our bronze medalist, Brooklyn native Nick Pressey. We'll finish up our podium ceremonies tonight. And Nick, it was a really, really challenging race. But on what was your last lap, how was your battle for that final position? Because it seemed like it was so tight for every position that any moment could have been your last. So that final lap of competition must have been really exciting for you.
The first caution definitely was a hurdle because the hash marks. We just weren't used to it. So the plan after that was just okay, stick to the original strat, find a way to make it a 3-stop without find a way to make it a 3-stop, and the fuel numbers just barely managed to line up throughout the race. And I had just enough pace to keep up with the leaders despite the older tires and having to save fuel the whole time. When that second caution came out and I had to start the back, I know I still had to save a little. I think I stopped saving around 3 or 4 laps to go, but until then, I just said push as hard as you can with what you got, old tires and everything. I knew once I got around George that I'd have a real shot at something. I didn't expect the car to have as much grip as it did but when the tires were as aged as they were. So, as I was making moves, I thought, okay, maybe there is a chance. I didn't even know I set the fastest lap of the race. I'm only figuring that out just now. Yeah. So when that caution came out, a little heartbreaking, especially for Bryce. He was up there all day. He worked so hard. For it to end like that for him, it wounds me.
Still, that last lap, though, must have been something else, and you came away with third place as well. So congratulations on that, and enjoy your break.
Oh, yeah, there's a break. Thank you very much. Break starts off on a good note. Birthday tomorrow. All right.
Oh yeah, happy birthday.
Right.
Happy birthday, Nikki. Enjoy that break, buddy. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Right up.
Fantastic racing all the way around. 125 laps of action from start to finish. And the next time we race, it's not going to be this chaotic. It's going to be much more strategic, but I'm excited. We're going to be racing on the streets of Long Beach in 2 weeks, and then the week after that, we're at Sonoma. I am thrilled. Liv, another ABN chapter in the books, and now we can look forward towards the rest of this points battle and the rest of this season.
Yeah, I cannot wait for Long Beach. We've always had sort of surprise frontrunners there. Of course, it being a street circuit and such a difficult, bumpy track, it will always bring unexpected drivers through who will really shine in that chaos. And I cannot wait to see who is going to be that driver this season.
We're going to find out. The circus rolls on. Until that next race, everybody please stay safe. Do take care of each other, and we will see you all around the corner.